Alright, guys, hello. Welcome. Here we go. It's Sunday. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. We're here. Of course, really all sports seasons are over now except for baseball, so it's going to get a little bit slow here for the next couple weeks, I'm sure. We'll, of course, have a program update coming up at the end. But, Jason, I want to let you get started here with your takeaways.
Yeah, so there was rumors that Toronto, was interviewing a whole bunch of people, Becky Hammond being one of them. But fortunately, they go with finalizing a deal to hire the Memphis Grizzlies assistant, Darko. I don't know that last name. I don't know if I want to botch it. Rajkovic, I want to say, or Rajkovic, probably, as the franchise's next head coach. Of course, we know everything that's surrounding with the Memphis Grizzlies, with Ja Morant being suspended 25 games. So I don't know if this is per se the right kind of move. I mean, Grizzlies have been all right. They've been a great team. Their head coach is really good, so I can't see why his assistant can't have success. But the Raptors also just got rid of Fred VanVleet, actually didn't get rid of Fred VanVleet. He declined his player option, so he's currently a free agent. So he could re-sign with the Raptors on a different kind of deal, like a max contract kind of deal. But if you look at that right now, the Raptors don't look very promising if their only true big star is Pascal Siakam.
Hmm.
So what sounds like to me is I think that they chose the wrong person, because look at what Becky Hammond's doing with the Las Vegas Aces. They're currently 8-1. They have Candace Parker. They're probably about to repeat, for the WNBA. They're currently the WNBA champions and looking to possibly repeat for Las Vegas. So it's looking good for Becky Hammond. She just keeps on adding more to her resume. She learned under Coach Popovich too, so clearly anybody that's coached under Popovich that goes off and does their own thing ends up having a lot of success. And if you want to look at somebody that's played under Popovich and became a great head coach, look at no further to Steve Kerr of the Golden State Warriors and the kind of success that he has had in the NBA. So clearly NBA has something against women coaches, and I don't understand why.
I give up on this whole conversation, to be honest.
I do
No
too.
offense. I'm just,
I know.
2 years we've been sitting here preaching she's the right
I
person.
know. But I wish nothing but luck to Darko. I think that he can probably have success with the Raptors, but I would think that you might have to build in a draft if you're going to have any kind of success, because Toronto is not a big player destination. I mean, yeah, they had Kawhi back in 2019, but look how long he was there. Only a year before he decided, nope, I'm out.
One hit
So,
wonder.
exactly. So, unfortunately, their situation doesn't look very promising, but maybe he can have success and turn it around. Depends on if they can keep Fred VanVleet. Siakam is a great player, can get you like 25 points a game. Fred VanVleet's another guy that can get you production as a starter. So who knows? It's not like when they had Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan and all the players that they had, and Kawhi. That was a stacked team. And Jonas Valanciunas. Now they have like nobody. So I wish them nothing but luck. So I'm gonna get into my second takeaway here. Bryce Young apparently has been named the Week 1 starter for the Carolina Panthers. Everybody knows he is a former Alabama quarterback that didn't win. No, he didn't win the national championship, but he was a standout in Alabama for them this past year. Gets drafted by the Carolina Panthers. And we know that the Panthers situation isn't any better than anybody else's, really. But the problem is that I think it might be a little too early to name him as a starter. I get it; he's an early round, pick in the first round, but you didn't test him out in training camp. You barely just got done with mini camps itself, and you already named him the starter. I think that it might have been a little too soon.
I mean, who else do they have? That's the real question. I don't think they have anybody else that's capable. So
I think they have a veteran player too. I think I don't.
I mean, I'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure that they have nobody.
I'm pretty sure they had a veteran as a backup, or was going to be the potential starter.
Andy Dalton.
But yeah, see, I mean, we didn't do half bad for the Saints last year.
I mean, he didn't do well for the Saints last year, so I can't say I'm shocked that they went Bryce Young, but
But it is also Frank Wright that's in Carolina too, so who knows, right? Am I right? Frank Wright is in Carolina as their head coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm shocked, but now you realize that there's a point of no return here. So if he struggles out of the gate, you can't bench him. No.
I know.
If you bench him, it shows, one, he's not your quarterback for the future, and number two, it tells it's going to kill the confidence of this young quarterback. So, I mean, you got to be all in now.
Hopefully Frank Wright sees something in him that I don't see. Because a lot of these Alabama quarterbacks, and Tua, it's tough to say what we can say about Tua. Mac Jones, we thought maybe he could be the future of the New England Patriots, but they're kind of on a short straw with him as their quarterback moving forward. So that's already showing that, he's out. Tua, hasn't been able to really stay truly healthy. He hasn't really pushed his team past the wild card right now. So, I don't know. It's tough to say. I would love to see Bryce Young being that one exception to be able to bring success to the Carolina Panthers, but right now, as I'm seeing all these Alabama quarterbacks going into the NFL, it does not look very promising. I don't know if it's just because they're on the wrong team with the wrong kind of system, or if it's just that they get to the NFL and they just lose all kind of credibility. So
you can make the argument for either, honestly.
Right. I mean, AJ McCarron maybe was the one exception where he could have been something in the NFL, but then just all of his confidence just dwindled, and his credibility just dwindled. I mean, he was yay close to being able to get the Bengals their first playoff win against the Steelers back in the day, if anybody remembers that, before he went to the XFL and everything like that and turning his career around. So he could have been something. He could have been that one oddball Alabama quarterback that could have done something, but unfortunately, just like all the others, they had that spotlight, and then it just dwindles afterwards, and they become nothing. So, hopefully he can have success under Frank Wright. Frank Wright is, I think, as much of a quarterback guru as you're going to kind of get. I think it's just because, when you play under Jim Kelly as many years as he has, I think you can definitely learn the game in a great aspect. So, I wish him nothing but success there in Carolina. I think they got a decent receiving core that can help him out, but it's probably going to be a hit and miss kind of year. It's definitely going to be a proving, can you prove to us that you can be the quarterback of the future? If not, then, we got Dalton, cracking down the door and taking that starting job away from you.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that, honestly. They committed Bryce Young. They're sticking with them. I'm sorry. You have no choice now.
True. Okay. So Denver Nuggets, have officially beaten the Miami Heat in 5 games to win their first NBA championship in franchise history. I really do think that, Hero being back was a little bit of a stretch for the Miami Heat in that game. Don't get me wrong, Nuggets had a fight to the end to be able to get that win because I think it was like 94 to 89 or something like that. So it wasn't like it was a blowout by any means. It was a pretty close game towards until the end. But I think that the Miami Heat definitely got to reassess, get guys healthy. I think they can be back into the finals. I think they can be definitely better than they were last season. I don't think that I see them as the 8th seed. I think they can definitely build off of this year, get some guys healthy, get Oladipo back healthy, get Hero back healthy. I say that the Miami Heat, just because they lost in the NBA Finals doesn't mean I don't think I see them back in the NBA Finals. But a lot of times these teams that lose in the finals have a slump afterwards, so we'll see what happens. But honestly, I think they can retool and refocus and get back into the finals, to be honest with you. But as far as the Denver Nuggets go, maybe they can make a case to get back there. It's going to be a tough West. I don't discredit any kind of team. Nobody nobody had the Denver Nuggets going in there and winning it all. I certainly didn't. I thought it would have been the Celtics or the Bucks, but no, it was a West team this year. And I honestly, if you told me at the beginning of the year that it would have been the Denver Nuggets, I would probably have looked at you and like, I don't see it. They haven't really gone past the second or third round. 2020 they went to the Western Conference Finals and lost. So I really didn't see it. But now it's like, now they finally get it done. They get over the hump. They bring the franchise their first NBA championship. So Nikola Jokic wins the Finals MVP. Of course, we'll talk about the moment about his trophy later. And then also, I wanted to talk about this last little bullet point. Jeff Green has been a journeyman around the NBA. Apparently, he also had open heart surgery in 2011.
I remember that, yeah.
And apparently, they had to stop his heart for an hour during the open heart surgery. So he's lucky to, 1, even be alive right now, 2, even still be in the NBA. But all the teams that he has, been a journeyman on, I'm, happy to see that he finally wins the NBA championship. Same thing with Ish Smith. He's been in the league for 13 years. You want to know how many NBA teams he has been on in those 13 years? 13. 13 different franchises in 13 years in the NBA. That's insane. Because Ish Smith is not a terrible backup point guard at all. Same thing with Jeff Green. I don't think he's a terrible player at all. I think they definitely deserve to get their ring. Same thing with DeAndre Jordan. I thought it maybe would have happened with the Clippers, because during the Lob era with Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin. They had a solid team. I thought maybe they could have done something, but no, they just couldn't amount to anything at all, and it sucks. But DeAndre Jordan finally gets his first ring. And so does Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson, being, a Clippers and Pistons guy way before joining up with the Denver Nuggets. So, congratulations to those guys. But, Brian, how do you feel? I mean, I know you're a Heat fan and you're not really follow the NBA as much, but what do you think about this NBA Finals?
Glad it's over and now we don't have to talk NBA anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Come on. No, but all seriousness, the Heat got further than anybody expected them to go. Hero, coming back, I will say it was a desperation move. It's a desperation move that needed to happen as much as people disagree with it. You're down 3-1. You got to do something to energize your team going into Game 5, pushing a Game 6, bringing it back to Miami. So I don't disagree with it.
Right.
Now, again, this just to me proves, and again, I know the NBA Finals, this is going to hurt Spoelstra's legacy as a good head coach in the league, but you got to look past that loss and say, man, he was the 8th seed, He was with the team that had to fight their way in and fought their way all the way to the NBA Finals. So I feel like you got to look at it in a different light and say, man, he really is a good coach, and I think this pushes him.
It's tough further. Because if you look at it, yes, he's been to the NBA Finals 6 times as an NBA head coach. But what's going to look bad on him going forward for that franchise is all the finals losses compared to the finals wins. Unfortunately, I do say he's a great coach and he can take any kind of squad to the NBA Finals, and that's what should really keep Pat Riley, keeping him under contract going forward, is that, hey, he can take any bit of guys that I give him and turn it into a championship team. 100%. That's what I think has kept Eric Spoelstra with the Heat as long as he's been there.
Yeah, now...
But it is getting to a point where when can he win us another championship? Because the last few years, it's resulted in losses. You lost to the, you lost to the Lakers in in the lockout, or not the lockout year, the COVID year. Then you just lost recently to Denver in 5.
Be fair, the Lakers had a chip on their shoulder in that finals, of course, losing Kobe.
Right, true.
So, that was kind of destined to happen.
I mean, if you look at the losses, you lost in 2011, you lost in 2014, you lost in 2020, you lost in 2023. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the 2 wins, look at the squad that they had too. That's what really, like, that's not saying that like it's ultimately just on that squad. It just, you also had LeBron, you had D Wade, you had Chris Bosh, you had a great starting 5, and you had a great bench. You look at it now, like, maybe you have guys. I think what really plagued the Heat in this finals was the injuries that are 2 of their bigger stars, in Oladipo and Hero. Because Jimmy Butler can only do so much.
Yeah.
But when you have him as your main benefactor, you're only going to get so far. And then win one game kind of shows that injuries really hurt that team in the worst way possible.
And now the Heat are supposedly in the Damian Lillard discussion, which could be interesting this offseason.
That could help them out. I mean, I'm not saying that it won't. But the problem is will Portland truly trade him away? We'll talk about that when it gets closer towards free agency and whatnot, but I just don't know if I see it. Then again, it's the NBA, anything is possible. All right, but other than that, I'm going to send it to you.
All right, well, I got the other half of the championships that occurred this week. So, Vegas, they secured their first Stanley Cup. Keep in mind, when the team formed, the owner had stated within the first 6 years, I guarantee this team will win a Stanley Cup. And guess what? Year number 6, we have a Stanley Cup.
He said playoffs in 3 and cup in 6.
Yeah, so bravo to them. Congratulations to everybody on that team except Jack Eichel. Fuck you, Jack Eichel. Seriously, whined his way out of Buffalo.
Took down that Jack Eichel poster he had and burned it. So,
oh man, but yeah, thank God I didn't bring it to the new place. It would have melted the walls off, and I would have had to pay a lot more in rent to fix the walls. So, but oh man, all I can say, again, I said, can both teams lose? I love that Twitter had to try to portray Jack Eichel as some sort of hero, or some victim. Like, dude, you whined and bitched your way out of Buffalo. Like, LeBron, like Kevin Durant did out of Oklahoma City. So don't give me that crap. Like, But I am happy for Vegas. I'm happy for Jonathan Quick to get another ring. Even though he didn't play a heck of a lot, still glad for
Yeah,
him.
isn't isn't that one guy that won the Stanley Cup just recently, like a three-time Stanley Cup champion or something like that too?
Yeah, I think Jonathan Quick is now.
Yeah, because they
So,
were saying like, oh yeah, three-time Stanley Cup champion. I was like, oh
in the
wow,
first
that's
time,
crazy,
in the
man.
first time, he's the man who had to do nothing to earn it.
Hey,
He wasn't in net
sometimes it
once.
happens like that.
But congrats to Vegas. Seriously, aside from Jack Eichel and my hatred for him, again, this team worked very hard. I know many people are upset with this championship about the expansion draft and all that, but look, get over it. That's all I can tell you is get over it. They're the champs. They earned it, whether you like it or not. So, um, can't wait to see what the offseason brings. Of course, not just for Vegas, not just for Florida, but also for the Tampa Bay Lightning, my team. Of course, we're still kind of in that weird, championship hangover phase where it's, are we still a championship team? Are we a team that needs to go full on rebuild? We're in that phase right now. So it's, interesting to say the least. But Vegas winning in 5 against Florida. And I'd said on this show, mind you, when we recorded last Saturday for Sunday, I'd said, man, if they win game 4 tonight and push it to a 3-1 lead, I don't think Florida's going to come back from this. And I think we can officially say between the NBA Finals, between the Stanley Cup Finals, that a 5-game or 3-1 lead is no longer a choking hazard. I think we can agree on that, right?
Yeah, I think we can agree on that.
I think we can finally put
At
that
least
to
this
bed.
year.
Um, Man, other than that, I am the bearer of bad news today. Of course, Conor McGregor, keep in mind he was our Tinkle on this recipient last week. I think this is our first Tinkle on this recipient to get an arrest warrant or be accused of something. So Conor McGregor was accused of raping a woman during Game 4 of the NBA Finals. I think this is going to be the end for him.
He's had so many chances in UFC and all the other stuff. I know he hasn't. He was getting ready to come back and fight, but it just, man, what is up with you? Apparently, you became such a mega star, and now you just let that success get right straight to your head and think that you can do whatever because you're Conor McGregor. You know, I just, bro,
You got to
just
know
go
when
to
to turn it off. That's the thing.
exactly.
It's fine to have your persona. I'm not saying it's not cool to have your persona. What I'm saying is, you know, you got to learn when to turn it on and off. And he has not learned yet when to turn it off and say, I don't need to be this aggressive. I don't need to be an asshole. I don't need to be
And
smashing
he's already
buses.
been in jail for something stupid before,
You
so
know, I don't.
apparently plans on going right back.
He's, this has got to be the end. I think it's truly got to be the end for him to finally realize he's got to stop pulling this shit. Whoever's making this Proper 12 stuff, they just got to say, you know what, we're not representing this. End the liquor deal.
Take out the shelves immediately, type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not one, I don't want to get into the politics of cancel culture, but you know what? He's been given too many chances. He smashed a bus with UFC fighters in it, if I remember that, a few years ago. Um, there's a difference between this and the wrestlers, smashing buses and smashing tables against each other. Okay, they know when to turn the persona off.
Right.
Okay? At some point, it's no longer your persona, it's your personality. And
And
that's what
that's
it
right.
is.
Apparently, when he knocked out that Heat mascot, apparently hurt the mascot too.
Yeah. See, we laughed about it, but I think now it's no longer a tinkle on this. It's a shit. This guy needs some fucking help.
You know,
So
I get it. He's Irish, but doesn't mean he needs to like be angry all the
we don't.
time.
We keep giving him that stereotype, but he's proven it, unfortunately. And I'm part
I hate to
Irish.
say it, but it kind of proven that point.
I mean, I'm
Um,
part Irish, but it's still the point. Um, you know,
right.
Man, I told you I'm the bearer of bad news, but this is the next bit of bad news I gotta share. Bob Huggins has been arrested this week as well, for DUI. The University of West Virginia is currently investigating what happened to lead up to his arrest. And chances are that a decision will be made in the coming days of his future with West Virginia men's basketball. So, oh boy. I hope they don't fire him over this, but DUIs, DWIs, they aren't like they used to be, okay? They're damning now. Like, it's so tough to come back from those. And he's working with 18 to 21 year olds. So,
Hmm. Right.
I want to say he doesn't deserve to get fired because, he's had a tremendous amount of success at West Virginia. But aside from that, if he didn't hurt anybody, it's a one time mistake. Everybody deserves a second chance. Like, I'm on the fence of that because we really don't know much details beyond it. Um, I'd say personally send him to one of these focus groups or something, or not focus groups, self-help groups or something.
See, I was gonna say that about Conor McGregor too, but I didn't want to get too deep into it. I think that kind of can come kind of hand in hand with both your second and third takeaways.
Yeah.
There's maybe seek some help in a sense.
Yeah, so if we can get him the help he needs, I think that'd be very, very good for him. Um, Keep in mind Jim Boeheim, of course, a few years ago with the hitting someone on 690 with his car. Um, Again, not under the influence there, but he got to keep his job until his retirement. And that's more what I'm comparing this to. It's not a great comparison, but, again, I feel like, if he can make things right, with this second chance, maybe we can, I don't want to say let it go, but in a way, give him that second chance and, let him prove to himself that this was a one-time mistake. So, again, it'll be interesting to see what West Virginia does. We'll keep an eye on that situation. I hope we'll have a follow-up next week with our show about this. But that's it. That's all I got. So, why don't we talk about... Oh my gosh. This Bengal, we talked so much about the Chiefs and the Bills rivalry. I think the Bengals and the Chiefs are now the biggest rivalry in the league. With Jamar Chase and Patrick Mahomes taking swipes at each other. Of course, Jamar Chase opened it up at minicamp by saying, hey, or they asked him, what do you think? Something about Mahomes being the best quarterback in the league. And Jamar Chase answers, Pat who? To which Patrick Mahomes goes on Twitter and responds with, I'm who? With the 2 rings in his finger, on his fingers there. Oh, Jason, what are we going to say about this one?
I mean, I hate that they're claiming him being like the best quarterback in the NFL right now. It really does suck, Yeah, I guess, rings can classify being maybe the future, GOAT, fortunately, and I know that pains me to have to say that, but you know, they just think that winning championships means that you're the greatest of greatest. Which, yeah, I can see a great point of it, but then fortunately, we might see a Chiefs dynasty becoming a thing, which will suck. But um, personally, Jamar Chase is one hell of a wide receiver. Joe Burrow is one hell of a quarterback. But until they can go out there and possibly win a Super Bowl, it's tough to put them in that category. We have a lot of great young, up-and-coming quarterbacks. A lot of them that have played in the playoffs multiple times, like Allen, like Mahomes, like Burrow. And a lot of them, in the AFC that are great, like Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. There's a lot of upcoming.
I'm hesitant to put
on both sides, but it just I can see with Patrick Mahomes saying that, but when does it get to be a little much that the cockiness kind of gets in his favor? Like, I'm showing off my bling. I won two championships.
Both of them, though. Come on, like.
Oh yeah, Jamar Chase is definitely showcasing that he can be very cocky too.
He needs to shut his mouth and let the playing do the talking. This is what got him in trouble in Arrowhead. Walking in there in the AFC Championship saying, "Oh, it's Burrowhead Stadium. It's Burrowhead Stadium." Like, just shut up. You keep adding fuel to this fire that you don't need to add. If you just shut up and played the game, you probably would have won the game.
It was almost like the same thing when Rex Ryan was the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, and he said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna crush the Patriots," and then we ended up getting crushed by that we were gonna beat them badly, but then we got crushed by them instead. That's why you don't talk to teams that end up being, the current dynasties, because you're just gonna get burnt.
See,
and they're gonna beat you bad, and they're gonna show that they're the better team than you are. He really should just shut up. Let the the talking, leave the talking to the field. If you can put up somehow 200 yards, 10 receptions, 200 yards, and if he could, if he could put up the numbers that Gabriel Davis did against the Chiefs, in the playoffs that one year, then maybe he can talk and say that But the thing is until he can actually beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, then he should just shut up.
The year before, mind you, they did the year before, but did they win a ring? Okay.
Nope.
Let's ask that question. Okay, if you won a ring the year before, if you finished the job against the Chiefs this year, and frankly, if you did lose to who did the Chiefs even play? I forgot. The Eagles. Even if you lost to the Eagles, you'd have something to talk about. Okay? Because at that point you can say, okay, Mahomes is our bitch, that sort of thing. But you can't say that when they beat you and went on to win the Super Bowl. Okay? You can't say it.
Right.
Okay? Now look, I will say Mahomes, and it pains me to say it, but I will say, though, in defense, okay, he is the best quarterback in the league right now. However, in defense, compared to when Tom Brady was the best in the league, with Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, and all that, this is a lot closer than that, okay? Tom Brady was the best by a mile, okay? Peyton Manning was closer, but once you got below Peyton Manning, look, Rodgers doesn't compare to those guys. I'm sorry. He doesn't compare to those two in any way, shape, or form, because he's not one ring. You can't put MVPs in the discussion of this, okay?
No.
I will say he's worked better with a lot less, so I feel like it closes the gap a little bit, but in terms of championships, in terms of league records, those two are the top. And same with Drew Brees. I completely forgot about Drew Brees. But what keeps Drew Brees further away from Manning and Brady is the ring discussion. Okay?
I know.
The top five.
That's always got to be a discussion. Oh, well, great players, but have they ever amounted to winning a championship? And then that always comes into discussion of why they're the GOAT, because they've won the championships, they went out there and won the big games and stuff like that. I get it. The couple times that, Mahomes has been there, I think he's undefeated in the Super Bowl right now. I don't think he's ever lost in the Super Bowl.
No, he did the one. He lost to the Bucks. He lost to Tom Brady, which made Tom Brady.
Right. Yeah, he did.
To me,
yeah, so he's 2-1 in the Super Bowl.
And to me, he'll never be in the GOAT discussion for that reason alone. Okay,
because he couldn't beat the GOAT.
Okay, he could win 8 rings, and it doesn't matter to me. Okay,
right.
So, but what I will say is the top 5, and I'm going to list it, the top 2 in order, and then 3 to 5, you can list it however you want, but it is Mahomes and Burrow are the top 2. I'm sorry, it's hard. You can't dispute that fact right now, that those 2 are the top 2. Then you can put Allen, Rodgers, Herbert in that discussion somewhere, and frankly Trevor Lawrence you can put in that discussion somewhere.
Say as a late, I would have put him maybe in the top 5, but if you look at his overall achievements, yeah, you can definitely put him in the top 5. But if you look at as a late, I just don't know if I could put him in that top 5 because the last few years it was Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but I'm saying you could put those 4 in there any way, shape, or form. But look, you absolutely have the second best quarterback, and frankly, I would even argue that the Cincinnati Bengals have the calmest and most collective quarterback in the NFL right now.
I agree. But
okay,
could it be safe to say that there's more of a rivalry between the Bengals and the Chiefs than there are between the Bills and the Chiefs? Because it starting to seem like the Chiefs and Bengals have this kind of rivalry that they're starting up right now. Because not even Allen and the Bills are even starting up beef with the Chiefs.
Well, I think the Chiefs are becoming everybody's least favorite team, kind of like the Patriots have the last handful of years. But I will say I feel like the Chiefs and the Bengals rivalry is much bigger because those 2 have been on the big stage. Those 2 have been fighting the last 2 or 3 years to be on the big stage versus Buffalo, who's, I hate to say, a one-and-done fluke, but until they prove otherwise, that's what it is.
That's why I'm saying this really has to be some kind of year for them. It has to be.
You gotta hope that the Bengals and the Chiefs somehow beat up on each other to make it happen. And look, and I see Jamar Chase's argument. And look, I will say, and I will double down and say yet again, Mahomes' ring this year is tainted by every, shape, every way possible by the fact that they shouldn't have had the number 1 seed based on the Damar Hamlin game.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have gotten past Miami. They absolutely shouldn't have gotten past Cincinnati. And then the Eagles essentially got cucked out of it by, bullshit penalties. So, look, they are the least deserving champions, but the point is he's a 2-time champion regardless of how you look at it.
Right.
Okay, because guess what? When it comes to the Hall of Fame vote, and I'm not saying Mahomes is there yet, but I'm saying, one more and he's definitely in. Okay. I would say one more Super Bowl, he's definitely in. He could retire tomorrow and be first ballot.
Right. I think
they're
just
not going
to being in 3 with all these other great quarterbacks, not have even been in 1, already kind of puts him above all the other quarterbacks because it's hard to already get to 1, let alone 3.
But you can't argue, and what I'm trying to say here is you can't argue. They're not going to go into these deliberations when it does come time and say, hey, well, he won 2 Super Bowls, but the second one was a total fluke. Okay, that's never going to be in a discussion for a Hall of Fame resume.
No, they're
Okay,
going to just say, "Oh, he's a
because
two-time
if we're gonna
champion.
do that,
He's been in the Super Bowl multiple times." That's what's going to be
okay,
in the discussion. We're
you
never going to
can't.
say, "Oh, it was a fluke victory and he shouldn't
No,
have won." We're going to look at it. We're going to say, "Well, he's got 2 more championships
look,
than all these other guys do." So,
and unfortunately, it's the same for Brady.
yeah,
They're never
Brady
going to see
by
it that
far
way.
is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer just off of the
Brady's,
achievements he's done alone in his career with the Bucks and the Patriots.
yeah, Brady is going to
So,
be first ballot, and without question, I'm actually going to go out on a limb and say he's going to be unanimous Hall of Famer.
oh yeah, I think
Okay,
so. I think he's going to be the first
unanimous.
Hall of
So,
Famer. To be
but
honest with you, I think the same thing with Peyton Manning. I think Peyton Manning was unanimous as
I know
well.
his decision came down in like 30 seconds or something. So I wouldn't be shocked if they just look at Brady and just immediately, like, no vote, he's in. Like,
Oh yeah, they're going to.
they're
He's
probably
going to
going to
get
do
in the
that.
ballot. It's not even going to be a question.
So, but with that, let's
Um,
get to
Tinkle on
Tinkle
this,
on
yes.
this. Nikola Jokic. Oh, man. How do you lose this, okay? So Nikola Jokic, of course, won Finals MVP. Don't count out the fat guy, I believe he said, or something. Don't count out the fat kid, something along those lines.
I think so
Um,
because there's a lot of pictures that are going around of
well,
him as
well,
a kid being,
we
you
won't
know,
we won't count out the fat kid, but the fat kid also has to remember his own trophies. Okay, how do you lose the NBA Finals MVP trophy? Yeah, he figured out a way. Let's just put it that way. He figured out a way to lose the NBA Finals trophy, the MVP one, in the
I
first
bet you
day
it's
of
somewhere.
having it.
It would definitely be somewhere in the arena. I'm sure they could
I'm sure
find
they
it.
found it by now, but the fact that
Oh
you
yeah,
lose it within the first 24 hours, Nikola, oh my gosh, you fought so hard for this all these years. You've earned it. Yeah, you should be holding that thing to no end. So for that,
exactly.
Nikola, tinkle on this, man. But
Exactly.
um, man, all right. So before we figure out what's coming up on our shows this week, just a little programming note. Of course, we told you when the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals are over, we're going to be pretty close to the end of the season. Well, that's where we are now. Of course, we will have an episode next Sunday, and we'll have an episode the Sunday after that in some capacity, whether it's, I think Jason's going to Toronto next week.
Yes, I am.
So hopefully we'll get an episode recorded before he leaves, and then we'll
I'm
get
sure
one
he will.
recorded.
I'm off on vacation the whole week, so
Yeah.
I have time.
So then hopefully we'll get that done, and then on top of it, hopefully we'll get one done before I go on vacation, because the last 2 weeks we both have vacations that are just counteracting each other. So we'll figure out a way. We will have episodes the next 2 weeks. So be sure to tune in. After July 2nd, we will be done until really the end of the summer. Jason works a summer job. I'm usually busy in the summer with a few things myself. So, and there's really only baseball going on at that point. So, we don't really follow enough baseball to fill up an hour. So, that's why we kind of do this summer break for those who are tuning in. We should be back, I'm hoping, and watch out on social media, but possibly August 27th we'll be back, is what I'm thinking. And we haven't really discussed it, but we will after the show, I'm sure, or in some capacity.
Right.
And then because the season starts September 7th, we will be starting our
Preview
NFL
or
season preview that day, September 6th, 8 p.m. Eastern. It'll be well after no final bell is done, with any luck. So it'll be 8 p.m. Eastern, Sunday or Wednesday, September 6th. It'll be on these audio platforms. It'll be on YouTube and Facebook Watch as well. But with that, what's coming up on No Final Bell this week?
yeah, so no final bell. We're on the road to Forbidden Door, and then we also have a new show coming up. As we're recording Saturday, and uploading Sunday. The show would have already happened by now, so we'll be discussing the first ever Collision event, and also, it's going to be it's going to be a live 2-hour show, just like Dynamite. They're going to be splitting the roster, some on Dynamite, some on Collision. Rampage is going to be more so for the talent that would be used more on Dark and Dark Elevation. But there does seem to be some good matches, that are going to be happening on this week's Rampage. But don't expect it to be like it was in the past, where you saw some big names being on Rampage. It's going to be more so for some of the talent that are usually primarily on, again, Dark and Dark Elevation. But that's no longer a thing. So yeah, we're going to talk about more. Definitely watch episode 84. It is out now. We discuss everything from Impact Wrestling's Against All Odds to Dynamite's to AEW Dynamite and Rampage, and then we discuss more about the first main event of Collision, and we'll be talking about the first episode of Collision on the next episode as well. So definitely keep watch on that. And then we'll be discussing the pay-per-view and the probably Collision event that we went to. We probably won't talk about... We'll probably talk about both, but either way, I think actually, on No Final Bell, the next episode after 85 will probably just be Forbidden Door, because it's going to be a bigger event. But other than that, yeah, I would just kept on watching and looking forward to what we're going to be discussing. We might throw some snippets of when we're there too. I don't know.
Hey, look forward to that, of course. Oh, bless you. Of course, they'll be at the pay-per-view this next weekend, I believe, right? It's next weekend?
Yeah, it's next Sunday is the pay-per-view, and then there's the Collision event beforehand, this Saturday.
So be sure to count on them to bring some good booze back from Canada. No, I'm kidding. All right, but coming up on Out of Turn 4, of course, we'll be doing... Of course, we only have IndyCar at Road America this weekend. No NASCAR going on. So with that, we'll do our silly season preview show. I meant to do it this past week. I didn't have enough planning done for it. It will happen this week because there won't be much news to talk about. It'll be literally a 2-minute episode otherwise. So we'll do that. We'll preview Nashville. We'll preview... Actually, I think it is only Nashville this weekend. So we'll preview that. Now, the following weekend, of course, keep in mind, Jason and Marty will be at Collision, or at AEW in Canada. Next weekend, the weekend after, I will be in Mid-Ohio for the NTT IndyCar Series race, the Honda Indy 200. So I'm hoping I'll have some videos for you guys live and pre-taped for the show following on July 4th. So you will want to tune in. Actually, I'll see, again, there will be programming notes and stuff, but tune in to Facebook Live, of course, at Tinkle Sports. I'm sure I'll have a lot of live videos walking through the garage. Maybe just maybe, we'll have some driver interviews. You never know. So, I know I don't have media passes, but maybe we'll get a few drivers to answer some questions for us. You never know.
Hey, that would be cool.
So, we'll have our first guests on Tinkle Sports and Entertainment. That'd be pretty freaking awesome. So,
yeah, it would.
But, of course, tune in this week to those, and we'll be back next Sunday. Until then, goodbye, everyone.